Hello everyone, welcome back to AegSphere's kitchen. This time around, I wanted to do something a bit more simple. A food that I like to call... I actually don't have a name for it. Let's just call it regular beans. This is a food that I eat pretty often. All of the foods I've shown so far are foods that I eat pretty often. These beans are really easy to make. You only need 3-ish ingredients, and let's just get right into it. The ingredients this time around are pretty simple. Some extra virgin olive oil, an entire onion, ideally a white or a yellow onion, it doesn't really matter which, as long as it's not a sweet onion. Some mild paprika, and a can of beans. This is a relatively large can, so if you're using a more standard sized can, I would suggest 2 of them, and make sure they're pinto beans for this recipe. Now before cutting the onion, I would suggest that you fill the pan, not fully with oil, but just enough olive oil to kind of be able to coat the bottom when you kind of stir it around. And then you can also turn on the heat. And I like to set the heat about halfway. Obviously the oil is going to thin out and spread out a little bit more when you turn the heat on. Now as this oil warms up, feel free to start cutting the onion, and by the time it's heated, you should be done. So to start off, we're going to cut our onion in half. The halves don't have to be perfect, but they just need to be halves, roughly. And when I peel the skin off, I tend to try to peel off the first layer as well, because it's much easier to get the skin off like that. Although, you know, this might not be the most efficient way, but there we go. We have 1/2, and then we can just repeat that on the other side. Alright, and just like that, we have our halves peeled. Let's just get some of that extra onion skin off the cutting board. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys I would say secret technique, but it's not like I invented the diced onion. But this is a method of dicing onions that I haven't really seen anyone doing, and it works pretty well for me. So what you're going to do is you take 1/2 of the onion and pretty much cut lines like this all around it. Not all the way to the top, but mostly to the top. It will get a little bit harder to hold it together, but just kind of keep trying to make triangles as best as you can. And when you make it all the way around, simply just start dicing it into small pieces like this until you get roughly to the center, like that. Then turn 90 degrees and repeat. And finalize like this. So now you're left with this little rectangle. Then you can just turn this on its side and dice it like that. And you can throw away the last little piece. Repeat again with the other side, and you have a diced onion in relatively short time. And just like that, a mostly diced onion. Sometimes you'll have some pieces that are a bit more stubborn and some are not perfectly sized. So if you really want smaller pieces, you could just kind of go over the board and kind of slice randomly. I do that sometimes, but you kind of get mixed success, and I'm not, you know, comfortable enough with the standard kind of slicing technique that you often see on cooking shows, because I am still a beginner. So I'm just cooking things that I enjoy to cook, that I'm familiar with. But worry not, I'll eventually start making some new things that I haven't made before, and I'll take you guys along on the journey. Now that you have the onion cut, it's time to transfer it to the pan. Once the oil's nice and warmed up and you're done cutting your onion, start putting it in the pan. Now you basically just want to stir the onion around for a while, ensuring that, you know, none of it's left untouched, because otherwise it'll start to burn. You shouldn't need any extra oil, but I would keep some to the side just in case, because the onion should release a decent amount of water as you heat it. So ideally, you should cook the onion until it starts to kind of get stuck on the bottom. And that's counting the stirring. So basically, if you were to just leave it, the onion would start to burn. It would, of course, get stuck. With stirring, it'll still eventually start getting stuck, and that's when you know that you're pretty much ready. So while you're stirring the onion, it's a good time to open the can of beans and just keep it ready. And when you start seeing the onions finally start to get a little bit soft and the bottom of the pan is starting to get a little brown, now's the time to pull out the paprika. So turn the heat to low and then pry open your can of paprika or whatever container you have it in. Ours has to be kind of opened by a knife. And then get out a small spoon. We have these really long spoons that we like to use for salsa and stuff. I would grab like about this much and kind of just sprinkle it all over the onion, and then give it a bit of a stir and see if the onion kind of takes a slightly more reddish appearance overall. And if it looks, you know, somewhat red like it does here, I'd say that's about enough. You don't want to overdo the paprika, otherwise the taste is going to change a decent amount. So, since you don't want it to burn, as soon as you finish adding it and the color looks good, immediately add the beans. All of them in. No need to change the water or anything, it's perfectly salted from the can. At least, you know, by my taste. So then again, give it a good stir, make sure that no onion is stuck to the bottom, and that's all there is to it. Now, it's, like I said, basically just stirring for approximately 40 minutes, stirring every now and then, and just making sure that it cooks at a, you know, medium to low kind of boil. In the past, when we used to make this when I was little, we used to add some, I don't know, generic sausage to this, just sliced. We would cook it separately and then mix it in near the end. But we learned that making it without the sausage not only simplifies the process, but it doesn't really lose anything when you remove the sausage. So we've been making it like this for almost as long as I can remember, as of recently at least. I'll just wait about 40 minutes, stirring every now and then, and I'll get back to you when it's nearly done. Alright, so unfortunately I wasn't able to get a clip of the food immediately after it was done cooking, so after that 40 minutes was up. But here's what it looks like after sitting out for a while. I admittedly left it out a bit too much. As you can see, it thickened a lot. It's not very, you know, soupy, and that's what happens. The longer you cook it, the more kind of dry it'll become when you let it sit out. Normally I eat this with some garlic toast, but when I say garlic toast, it's literally raw garlic pressed and scrubbed onto some toast. But this time around, I'm going to eat it with some corn tortilla chips because I want to mix things up. But first, I'll give it a shot on its own. And I mean, what can I say? It turned out like it always does. Very good. Again, if you want to add sausage, be my guest. I think a spicier sausage might work. But the food itself is not spicy at all, and honestly, a bit on the sweet side actually, because of the paprika. So yeah. Overall, I hope if any of you decide to make this, I hope that you'll enjoy the recipe. And stay tuned for more AegSphere's Kitchen.